Jai Gurudev, dear students. Today we shall study the poem Snare, The Snare, which is composed by James Stephens. So, in this poem, the poet has described the pitiable condition of a rabbit that has been caught into a snare, into a trap, and crying for help. So, the pitiable condition of the rabbit has beautifully been described by the poet. So, poet James Stephens describes the pitiable conditions of the poor people through this poem who are tortured by the dictators and the powerful persons, and they are crying for help, but nobody comes to rescue them. So, this poem contains 8 lines. Originally, this poem contains 16 lines, but here there are only 8 beginning lines of the poem. So, let's start. I hear a sudden cry of pain. There is a rabbit in the snare. Now I hear the cry again, but I cannot tell from where. But I cannot tell from where. So, the poet describes himself as a person who is wandering in the forest, and all of suddenly, he hears a painful cry, and he recognizes that sound, that there is a rabbit in the snare, that any rabbit has been caught into a trap, into a snare. And the poet wants to know where from the voice is coming, where is the poor animal who has been caught into the trap, but he cannot decide. Now I hear the cry again. After some times, he hears that sound again. And he tries to trace the location. He tries to find out the location of that poor animal, as he has determined within his mind to rescue him. But I cannot tell from where, I cannot tell from where. This line is repeated. So, the repetition of the line highlights the willingness of the poet that he wanted to know the exact location of the rabbit. He wanted to know the location of the poor animal, but he could not find. So he said, I cannot tell from where, I cannot tell from where, I cannot find where from the voice is coming, where from the poor animal is crying for help. And he is calling out for aid, crying on the frightened air, making everything afraid. The poet guesses that the animal is caught into the trap. Though he cannot see the scene, but he estimates within his mind, he guesses in his mind that the animal is caught into the trap, into the snare, and calling out for aid, and he is crying for help, but nobody is coming to help him, crying on the frightened air, and his sound of crying is echoing in the atmosphere of the forest, as there is no noise in the forest. So if any sound is created, it echoes through the valleys, through the hills. So it is echoing, and this creates a fearful surroundings in the forest, crying on the frightened air. Here air represents for atmosphere, so the atmosphere is very fearful. When the rabbit cries pitiably for help, so it creates a fearful atmosphere, making everything afraid, and so all the animals, all the creatures of the forest are afraid. So there is a hidden message given the dictators creates panic for some people. All country, all state is afraid of them. So you need not go through the deep sense of the poem, because being an student an 8th standard student, you only need to understand the basic concept of the poem, that here the poet describes the pitiable condition of the rabbit.